if I told you that some of the most important business decisions you will ever make don't happen in a boardroom? They happen over coffee, at a networking event, in a hallway, on a phone call, in a conversation where nobody is selling anything. Because when you really think about it, business isn't just about what you know, it's about who knows you. But even more importantly, it's about what people know about you. Do they trust you? Do they believe you? Do they know you'll do what you say you're going to do? And when your name comes up in a room that you're not in, what do people say? That's the real power of relationships. Welcome back to another episode of More Than Business. I'm your host, Robin, and today we're talking about networking with purpose, building trust, and creating the kind of reputation that can open any door. That's why today's episode is titled Relationships Are the Real Business Strategy. What if I One of the things I love about entrepreneurship and leadership is that the longer you're in business, the more you realize that success isn't always about having the best product, the biggest budget, or the perfect strategy. Those things do matter, but relationships matter just as much, maybe more than we realize. Think about your own career. Who gave you your first opportunity? Who introduced you to someone who changed the direction of your business? Who referred a client to you? Who called you when they heard about an opportunity? So here's the interesting part. You may not have built those relationships because you were trying to get something from those people. You built them because you were connected. You listened, you showed up, you helped, you followed through, and over time, trust developed. That's networking at its best. Not collecting business cards, not trying to be the most important person in the room. It's asking a different question. What can I contribute to this relationship? And that's where we're going today. We're going to talk about how to network with purpose, how to build trust, maintain in those relationships, and ultimately how to build a relationship and build a reputation so that even when you're not in a room, your name is still being brought up, right? So let's start with networking. I think the word networking sometimes gets a bad reputation. People hear networking and immediately picture a crowded room where everyone is just handing out business cards trying to pitch themselves. You walk up to somebody, hi, what's your name? What do you do? Here's my card. Great meeting you. And then nothing. Okay. The business card, it probably goes into a drawer somewhere. It's on a stack of other business cards. So the conversation disappears and everyone moves on. That's not really networking. That's exchanging contact information. Okay. There's a difference. Real networking is about creating relationships with people who you genuinely want to know. And that means you have to approach networking differently. Instead of asking, who do I need to meet? Ask, who can I learn from? Instead of, how can this person help my business? Ask, how can I help this person? Instead of trying to tell everybody what you do, get curious about what it is that they do. Ask questions. How did you get started? What are you working on right now? What's challenging you? What brought you to this networking event or convention that you're at? So these types of questions create conversations. And conversations, well, those create relationships. Okay. So you want to network with purpose. Be curious. Listen. Look for common ground. Find ways to create value for them. or add value. And then, of course, follow up. And there's another important piece. Know why you're networking. Maybe you're looking for clients. Maybe you're in the hiring process. Maybe you're just trying to learn more about the industry. A lot of entrepreneurs are looking for mentors. So maybe you're just trying to build relationships in the community. So your purpose doesn't have to be transactional. It should be intentional, because if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, networking can be just a collection of random conversations. And those random conversations typically don't lead to meaningful business relationships. Here's something I've learned. One of the best networking skills is, well, I'll tell you what it isn't. It isn't talking, it's listening. And I don't mean waiting for your turn to speak. I mean actually listening. There's a huge difference. Sometimes we're having a conversation with someone, but we're already thinking about what we're going to say next. We're already preparing our answer. We're thinking about our business. We're thinking about how we're going to impress them. And while we're doing all of that, we're missing the person right in front of us. People can tell when you're genuinely listening. They can tell when you're not. And that's important because people remember how you made them feel. They may not remember every detail of the conversation, what you're wearing, or the exact words that you used, but they'll remember whether you made them feel heard, right? So imagine you are meeting someone for the first time. They tell you about a challenge they're having in their business. Instead of immediately saying, "Oh, I can solve that," you say, "Tell me more about that." That's a small difference, but it changes the entire conversation. Now you're not pitching, you're learning. And sometimes the best business opportunities come from conversations where you weren't trying to sell anything. Because once you understand what someone actually needs, you may discover that you can help, or maybe you know someone that can help. And that brings us to one of my favorite principles. Your network becomes more valuable when you become valuable to your network. Okay. You'll be known as a person that people can count on. And that leads me to another important aspect of building relationships, and that's trust. Because relationships without trust don't go very far. And trust isn't something you can demand. You can't walk into the room and say, "Okay, everyone trusts me." It just doesn't work like that. Trust is earned. And most of the time, it's earned through very small things. You say you're going to get a call, and then you call. You say you're going to send something, you send it. You introduce two people, you make the introduction. Okay, someone shares something with you privately, and you respect their confidence. These are different examples of building thus trust. So those moments may seem small, but they're building something. They're building your credibility. They're building your reputation. Trust equals consistency plus integrity plus follow through. Think about the people you trust most. Chances are you don't trust them because they gave you a great presentation. You trust them because they're consistently showing you who they are. And consistency is powerful. Anybody can show up once. The question is, can you show up again? Can you be dependable when it's inconvenient? Can you do the right thing when no one is watching? Can you tell someone the truth, even when the truth isn't what they want to hear? That's leadership. That's business. That's relationship building. Because your reputation is being built, whether you're paying attention to it or not. Every interaction is a deposit or withdrawal. Every promise is a deposit. Every promise you break is a withdrawal. Every time you help someone is a deposit. Every time you take advantage of someone's trust is a withdrawal. And eventually people look at that balance and decide whether they want to continue doing business with you, pretty much. Now, here's a thought I want you to sit with. Your reputation often arises before you do. Imagine someone is sitting in a meeting and your name comes up. Okay, you're not there. You can't explain yourself. You can't make a pitch. You can't correct a story. Someone else is talking about you. What do you want them to say? She's reliable. He's honest. They follow through. They care about their clients. They're great to work with. They're always willing to help. Or do you want them to say, oh, they're difficult. They never call back. They overpromise. They only show up when they need something. Your reputation is what people experience consistently enough to believe about you. And that's why relationships are so powerful. Because when someone trusts you, they don't just trust you for themselves. They've become a bridge to other opportunities, a referral, an introduction, a partnership, a recommendation, a new employee, a new client, okay? And sometimes a second chance. Because here's the thing. Business relationships are rarely linear. You may meet someone today who doesn't become a client for 5 years. You may meet someone at an event who introduces you to the person who eventually becomes your biggest customer. You may help someone early in your career who eventually becomes a huge advocate for your business. So those are immediate transactions. Those are relationships that you build for the long term. All righty. Now let's talk about follow-up. This is one of my favorite parts. This is the simplest and often overlooked part of networking. Following up. You meet someone, you have a great conversation, and then crickets, just like I'm hearing out here. They never contact you again. You never contact them again. We've all done it. Life gets busy. The week gets away from us. The business gets demanding, and that person becomes just another name in your phone. But here's the truth. The meeting isn't the relationship. The follow-up is where the relationship begins. And your follow-up doesn't need to be complicated. I'm just talking about a simple message. Great meeting you. I enjoyed our conversation about your business. Or I've been thinking about what you said about your challenge. I may know someone who could help. I know you mentioned that you're working on a project. I love to hear how it's going. That's it. Again, we're not selling. You're not selling in these follow-up emails. You're just continuing the conversation. All right. So again, you want to reference the conversation. You want to offer something that's useful and then leave the door open. And here's another idea. Don't only reach out when you need something. Oh, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. If every message you send begins with, hey, I need a favor, people notice. Instead, check in, congratulate someone, share an article, make an introduction, celebrate their success. And we have different social media platforms that make it really easy to see what people are working on. Just sending them a note saying, congratulations on this new partnership. You're in this program now, because the relationships aren't built in one big moment. They're built through small moments repeated over time. Okay. And I want to make something really clear. When we talk about business relationships, we're not just talking about clients. Your employees are relationships. Your vendors are relationships. Your partners are relationships. Your community, that's a relationship. Even your competitors are relationships. And every one of those relationships can influence your business. If you lead people, your employees need to know that you see them as people, not just as positions on an organizational chart. If you're part of a community, don't only show up when you want something. Contribute, volunteer, support in any way that you can. Introduce people, share opportunities. Be someone who makes the community stronger, because business doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in a community. And the strongest businesses understand that. Okay. Sometimes the most powerful business strategy isn't asking, how do I get more? It's asking, how do I contribute more? Because when you consistently contribute value, people notice. And over time, that becomes part of your reputation, really. So let's make this practical. I want you to do something after this episode. I'm going to call it my relationship audit. Take out a piece of paper or open up your phone and notes app and write down 3 lists. Okay. List 1, people who help you grow. So on this list, I want you to include mentors, advisors, your peers, maybe people who are challenging your thinking. That's list 1. List 2, people you can help. So who in your network needs an introduction? Who needs advice? Who needs encouragement? Who could benefit from something that you know? Alrighty. Now, list 3. These maybe are relationships you've neglected. Who haven't you talked to in 6 months? Be honest. Who helped you at an important moment? Who did you promise to follow up with? Who have you been meaning to call? Okay, those are the 3 lists. Out of those 3 lists, pick 3 people, just 3, and reach out. Don't ask for anything, just reconnect. And if you want to take it a step further, ask yourself, what reputation am I building? Not the reputation you want, the reputation that you're actually building, because there's a difference. And the good news is you can change it one interaction at a time. I've come to believe that one of the greatest assets any business leader can build isn't something that appears on a balance sheet. It's trust, it's relationships, it's the confidence people have when they see your name. And sometimes the greatest return on a relationship doesn't come immediately, It can come years later. Maybe that was a person that you helped, a conversation that you had, a promise you kept, a door you opened for someone else. And one day, somebody opens a door for you. That's the beauty of relationships. You never really know how far a genuine connection can travel. So don't measure your network by how many contacts you have. Measure it by the quality of the relationships you've built. And don't ask only who can open a door for me. Ask whose door can I open? Because when you become the person who opens doors for others, you often discover that more doors are open for you. So that's today's episode of More Than Business. Remember, business may start with a transaction, but lasting success is built through relationships. So network with purpose, listen more than you talk, do what you say you're going to do, follow up, add value, and build a reputation that speaks for you even when you're not in the room. If this episode gave you something to think about, share it with someone in your network who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to More Than Business with Robin on our YouTube channel so you don't miss the next episode. Until next time, I'm Robin. And remember, they say it's just business, but believe me, it's always more than business. I see you next time.